Good morning and welcome to Beverly Unitarian Church. This is our online worship service. My name is Merrick O'Connell and I am the worship associate for today. I wanted to take a minute as I sat here to invite you to think about walking into our place of worship at Beverly Unitarian, the people that you usually see when you go, the smiles, the welcome, the families, or the individuals who come up and welcome you. I imagine our regular greeters at the door. I see our musicians beginning to warm up. The smiles and laughter that make my heart feel really warm when we think, or at least when I think of that sacred space. But I wanted to welcome you today to our online worship. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation of children, youth, adults, of many races, religions, identities, genders, sexual orientation, abilities, education, life experiences, traditions, and you are welcome. We are all welcome here. We celebrate the diversity of our beliefs and always striving to make space for more. Everyone here is sacred. You are welcome, and whatever your past or present is like, we invite you to walk into the future with us. Like any other Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm 7 principles, which are not doctrine or dogma, but rather our shared values and moral guide. And if you need to see what those are in writing, they are at www.uua.org. Our minister is the Reverend David Schwartz, but today we are fortunate to have Chip Roush with us, and he will be providing the inspiration for our service. And I also would like to welcome any visitors who are here with us today, and that we will have our coffee hour. It will be via Zoom, and there will be a link provided. And although we are continuing our services remotely so that we can keep each other safe, I would like for everybody to take a moment thinking about the people around you, the people that you usually find at church, in our community, in our world, and to begin to join our spirits together and prepare our minds and hearts for worship. Good morning and welcome. We light our chalice, grateful for the love that we experience in this gathered community. May the flame light the way for all who seek such abundance.
Our opening words are excerpted from Beginners by Denis Levertov. Not yet, not yet. There is too much broken that must be mended, too much hurt we have done to each other that cannot yet be forgiven. We have only begun to know the power that is in us if we would join our solitudes in the communion of struggle. So much is unfolding that must complete its gesture. So much is in bud. Today and every day, may we be more aware of the spirit of life budding, blossoming, and evolving through us so may we be. If you want to get your home chalice out, we can all light them together. We light our chalices this morning as beacons of hope, signs of our continuing quest for truth, goodness, and beauty. May our reason and our passion be likewise kindled, that our very lives become beacons to all people.
I Am Love, a book of compassion. When I see someone going through a storm of hurt and unfairness, of anger and sadness, when the sun disappears and the skies grow dark, and I see there is fear, I ask myself, what can I do to help let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and listen, and that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and not say a word. I can be there. Love is present. I can hug and hold and say, everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can speak softly and choose my words and actions carefully. Love is gentle. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what is important to me. Love is creative. I can know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. Love is tiny gestures. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know all creatures are made from the very same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in for others and for me, I know there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. We are love. And with love, we will weather the storm and light up the sky. Together. The end.
My life goes on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What love the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Sharing by Edwina Gately from Psalms of a Laywoman. We told our stories, that's all. We sat and listened to each other and heard the journeys of each soul. We sat in silence, entering each one's pain and sharing each one's joy. We heard love's longing and the lonely reaching out for love and affirmation. We heard of dreams shattered and visions fled, of hopes and laughter turned stale and dark. We felt the pain and isolation, the bitterness of death. But in each brave and lonely story, God's gentle life broke through, and we heard music in the darkness and smelt flowers in the void. We felt the budding of creation in the searchings of each soul and discerning the beauty of God's hand in each muddy, twisted path. And God's voice sang in each story. Life sprang from each death. Our sharing became one story of a simple, lonely search for life and hope and oneness in a world which sobs for love. And we knew that in one sharing, God's voice with mighty breath was saying, love each other and take each other's hand. For you are one, though many, and in each of you I live. So listen to my story and share my pain and death. Oh, listen to my story and rise and live with me. And this is the time in our service where we come together and share our joys and concerns. We look for that deeper connection each week when we share what is really going on in our lives. This time we are only able to do it through our chat function, and that's where you can put your joy or concern, remembering that it's public. You can also put 2 lines, type it in, and that would be that it is too private to share at this time, and that we keep this candle with our joys and concerns burning bright, that we hold each other through this time, and that the leadership in our country and in our world, this global situation, that we will find a way to persevere, and that the people around us will make good decisions as we come into a new school year and a new time of living. So, joys and concerns.
Hello again. Leslie Takahashi was born in New Jersey in 1962. She serves the Mount Diablo UU Church in Walnut Creek, California, and is the chair of our UUA's Commission on Institutional Change. This is excerpted from a Facebook post she made on May 6th, 2020. I am increasingly struck by the lack of public mourning. My expression, every life is hope incarnate. Every human life is a possibility awaiting fulfillment. Every person is the complexity that defies metaphor. Every life is precious, and none should pass unnoticed. They will tell you that your value lies in buying and in spending. Breathe into the truth. Your currency is in your heartbeat and the silly twist at the corner of your smile and your passion for sunrises. They will tell you that you cannot exist without freedom of consumption. Breathe into the truth. We measure our lives not in human doing, rather in human being. Each life is beyond containment, beyond price. Our worth is measured in possibility. So may we be. And now for some awkward Zoom interactivity. How many of us have heard the story of the Tower of Babel? How many heard that God dispersed the humans and changed our language because we were too prideful? That's what I was taught as a child. And at that point in my life, it made sense to me. I sometimes got in trouble for being too proud. Why wouldn't our human ancestors? Since then, I have learned other interpretations of this story with more progressive and or more nuanced understandings of our human condition. That's one of the reasons why it's important to study Bible stories. These stories are an important part of the ideological DNA of our culture. Whether or not we believe in a God, this is a conversation about humans and humane values that we've been engaged in for thousands of years. Biblical literacy helps us to understand the conversation more fully we get a sense of how the ideas have evolved over at least 100 generations of Western history. And we can notice when those stories are being skewed or misinterpreted by our current conversation partners. For example, the idea that the Tower of Babel story includes an angry God punishing humans for their hubris, dispersing them across the earth because of their pride at building a big city and a tall tower, that's a very specific point of view about the nature of God, the nature of human beings, and the relationship between them. One might even think that the people who told the story that way had an agenda of their own. They were trying to keep the peasants meek and in their place, especially since that interpretation is not supported by the actual text. Words like pride and hubris are simply not in the original story in the 11th chapter of Bereshit, or as Christians know it, the book of Genesis. One of the many benefits of attending Meadville Lombard Theological School is the ability to take classes from a dozen other seminaries and from the University of Chicago Divinity School. My Hebrew Bible professor at the Div School, the late Tikva Freimer-Kinsky, when she read from the original Hebrew, translating on the fly, she pointed out the story does not say God is angry, and it never implies the people were punished for their pride. Freimer-Kinsky taught that the Tower of Babel was a test, and that we humans passed God's test. We demonstrated that we were smart enough to do significant architectural engineering and savvy enough to communicate, cooperate, and delegate in an effective manner. God had always planned for humans to grow in intelligence and then spread out over the world. Once we had built most of a giant tower, we had demonstrated our proficiency and could level up to the next challenge facing us. What might our society be like if that were our common understanding of God, instead of the angry, punishing deity in the story I was taught? Just recently, I heard of another interpretation. A local rabbi related a midrash, an ancient commentary on the Hebrew scriptures, which explains the story of the Tower of Babel like this. When a worker would fall from the scaffolding around the tower, the other workers were not allowed to stop or to mourn their fallen comrade. They were forced to continue laboring. But when a brick fell from the tower and broke, then there was a work stoppage, and the waste of materials was called out and decried. According to this midrash, the moral of the story is to not value material goods over the value of human lives. Here again, we see a vision of the deity as angry, but it's anger based in compassion. This is the ancient Hebrew version of God telling us humans, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. Over 2,500 years ago, our spiritual ancestors wrote into their precious books of wisdom that we are called to love our human cousins more than we love material objects. For 100 generations or more, we've been using these stories to teach our children that there will always be those who value power and wealth and our higher values, our compassion and mercy. In our generation, our version of the Tower of Babel story might be told like this. We intelligent human beings have built a complex global economy with multiple levels of abstraction in which every day a towering pile of money gets traded, but we seem to care more about the rise and fall of abstract indices like the Dow Jones, the FTSE, or the Hang Seng, and less about the health and well-being of the workers who actually produce the goods being traded. As Leslie Takahashi wrote, Our value does not lie in buying and in spending. Our life is beyond containment, beyond price. Our worth is measured in possibility. We hear news reports debating the merits of saving the economy from the effects of the pandemic, of opening the economy up, or saving human lives. This is a false distinction. We have to do both. We humans need our health, and we need jobs and stores and recreational activities. If we prioritize the economy opening things too rapidly with too little concern for the workers, then the whole thing will collapse as the pandemic crashes over us in waves. If we listen to our ancestral human wisdom and prioritize human lives, then we will develop a slow but strong and sustainable recovery which will benefit more of us. This is not a left-wing conspiracy dreamed up just this summer to make one particular leader look bad. It is one application of some of our oldest and most treasured wisdom. And these ancient biblical stories are so full of human wisdom that they can speak to multiple issues all at the same time. If bricks are not more important than workers in the original story, if the economy is not more important than the workers who are part of it, then buildings and products and concepts like orderly protest are not more important than the lives of our Black siblings and cousins. One of the more recent additions to this side of the conversation came from U.S. District Judge R. Brooke Jackson. In early June, Judge Jackson issued a restraining order preventing the Denver police from using chemical weapons or projectiles against peaceful protesters. He wrote, "If a store's windows must be broken to prevent a protester's facial bones from being broken or eye being permanently damaged, that is more than a fair trade. If a building must be graffitied to prevent the suppression of free speech, that is a fair trade." End quote. Judge Jackson said if high-ranking police leaders were eyewitnesses to extensive damage being done, then they could use tear gas or rubber bullets, but even then, the projectiles should be bounced off the ground and must not be aimed at a person's head, groin, or back. I welcome Judge Jackson's ruling, and based on human experience, we humans do not always follow all the rules. There are already guidelines that indicate how and when rubber bullets are to be used. And there are too many stories of people who lost limbs or eyes because of the over-exuberant use of rubber bullets by law enforcement officers. So please be careful out there. If you choose to join your solitude in the communion of struggle, then do take care of yourself and take care of those around you. As Assata Shakur wrote, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains." What does it look like to love and support each other? In these days of COVID-19, it includes wearing face masks, even at open-air public demonstrations, maintain social distance insofar as possible. And here is the harder part. If you are a white person going to a protest, here are 2 tweets explaining what our Black cousins are asking of us. Use your privilege to protect people who are actually at risk. De-escalate. Anger is justified, but do not center this around yourself. Being violent and trying to get arrested is the least helpful thing you can do. And if you are at these protests trying to be an ally, your jobs are 1, defer to the Black people leading the protest, 2, protect Black and brown people by being a human shield, 3, keep an eye on your skin folk, some of whom might be undercover cops or outside agitators. My role at a Black Lives Matter protest, as I understand it, is to do what the Black leaders tell me to do, including and especially to place my white body between their Black bodies and any violence being perpetrated by the police. If you need to read more and have discussions in order to learn and understand why this is so, that's fine, and it is insufficient in and of itself. White folks do not read about and discuss these issues only to become more educated and urbane. We do the reading and the talking so we can do the real work of protecting those on the margins with our white bodies. Because people are more precious than things. For 2,500 years, we've been teaching that lives are more valuable than buildings. Maybe this is the year when we finally demonstrate that. So may we be.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the long night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Hear the song of peace within you. Heed the song of peace in your heart. Each new beginning shall lead to a harvest. Love will guide us on our way.
Sometime this week, when we most need it, may we remember that lives are more precious than things, and may we take one more step toward the liberation of all. So may we be.
We extinguish the chalice here that it might shine in our hearts. May it light our path as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again.